Are we on the air?
Yes, you are.
You know, at the time, you have to understand that for me, I wanted to basically make a statement. You know, after you've made the statement, you kind of like hit it. And to me, there's in anything, I wanted to make it a trilogy, which is you know, you always have your beginning, and then you have your middle, and then you have your ending. You know, and one of the things that I've always wanted to do is I wanted to like kind of like be that first group that kind of like you made your mark and then you leave it. So that legacy becomes something that people have to have gotten when it's there, because if you don't get it while it's there, then it's gone. Yeah. It didn't pan out to that level, but you know, that was just because, you know, Chuck wanted to keep it going for more and, you know, more records and pretty much push the group energies, because the energy at the time was pretty huge. But for me, you know, I wanted to just do the three and kind of like and be out. Not to say that, you know, neither here or there that it's either good or bad. It's just a matter of direction.
Was it hard for you to let go of something that you had basically created?
You know, not necessarily. You know, because it's only difficult if you feel that whatever you did, you have regrets. I don't believe in the fact that you can turn the page or you can walk backwards in time and do it all over again. Because I think that if you had the chance to do it all over again, you would do the same thing all over again. Yeah. Because you're only blessed with the same amount of knowledge that you have. And everything that you do is a learning experience. Nothing is going to be correct. Nothing is going to be, you know, is going to go the way you want to do. Some things are going to go beyond your wildest imagination. Some things are going to hit off into zones that you've never even thought it was going to be. Yeah. So the one thing that I've always never once stepped in the way of that. And I would never ever do anything like would talk ill about anybody. I would never air out any situations that we had, good, bad, or indifferent, in public, because I don't believe in that. Public Enemy to me was an experiment. All right, it was just basically an experiment, just to see if I throw out a seed of consciousness, what's going to happen with that seed. That seed, you know, I'm still getting calls, emails, and people's hitting my MySpace pages and telling me how much that it has changed and influenced their lives. Cats that was in the jails, that got out and now become lawyers. Okay, I mean, I'm talking about cats that taking a 360, that was down and out and now is becoming a lawyer. And when you got cats that was on drugs and heroin and that have changed their lives and now are doing better for themselves today, I mean, that to me is a good day. Oh yeah. I mean, I think that that's what we live for as people.
Yeah. How did you guys, like, a big part of that was also the sound of the music. Like, there are a lot of artists that have amazing lyrics and amazing messages, but it's about the messages meeting the music. And like, how did you guys come with that chaotic sound, like, on the second album? And how did you think that, yo, this will work, when no one had ever really heard anything like that before?
Well, it's funny because, you know, the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to have some music that sounded like you had 4 turntables playing at once. Alright, it was like, you know, from the, you know, you guys DJ, so you can appreciate when you have, like, when you got 4 different rhythms all happening at the same time, but on the same vibration, that's all adding something to it. There comes that moment where it becomes something else. I wanted to create that chaos that was in there because our situation and our lives was chaotic. You know, I didn't have no idea where I was going to be. I was just like any one of us that was out here. You know, my parents wanted me to go to law school. I didn't want to go to law school. I didn't want a 9-to-5. I had a love for music. So thus, if I want to have a love of music, then I have to figure out a way to make that work for me. And work for all the brothers, because you got to understand something. Public Enemy is a brotherhood of about 12 or 15 cats, you know. And at the same time, when I came into everyone's life, the first thing I wanted to do was say, am I going to make your life different? Am I going to make it better? Everybody that I come in contact with, I make sure that if I don't leave a positive stain on your life, I didn't do what I was supposed to come here for on this planet. And when I look back and I see that everybody's life's improved, it might not have gone to the level that everyone would have expected it to go, but their lives is not the same. They were not back where they were when I first met them. So when I look back and I sit there and say, well, okay, dude, I did my job. And that's all any of us
I don't think any of us are going to argue that you didn't do your job, you know? Hank. It's OTA Talk, Ty Harper, Raz Digital, and Public Enemy founder, Mr. Hank Shocklee. back into the idea of your production style again, like a lot of samples. How did the ramifications and the legalities of sampling affect you guys once it really started to kick in?
Well, I mean, as you can see, that it can never be done again.
Yeah.
I mean, from a financial standpoint, I think that if it wasn't for the legalities, that you can find cats that could probably have matched what we've done, you know, as on a creative level. But I think the finances and the legalities of sampling just made that thing cost prohibitive. So thus from that perspective, it would never happen again. The other side of it that I think that people kind of like, you know, they may know or may not know about it. One of the things about every one of those records that we made, they were one-offs. You know, none of us can ever create those records by ourselves. Let's pull apart Rebel Without a Pause, for example. Rebel Without a Pause has a drum loop sample in it. Well, that drum loop sample is played by Flavor, all right? And the reason why it was played by Flavor is because Flavor's timing was not perfect, but it was not sloppy.
Right.
So thus, it gave it a funkier feel. Norman came in and gave the scratch part of it. All right, Norman's scratch part, you know, it took me 2 days for me to even understand it because I thought it was pure crap. He said, "Yo, Hank, I'm gonna put this down." I'm listening to it, and I said, I listened to it. I was like, "Nah, dude, I'm not really feeling that. That's terrible." All right, so I just said, "All right, let's go. We'll go home, come back tomorrow, and we'll hit it." So I went home, listened, and I just happened to let me throw in the tape and let me just see, you know, because I always make a tape of what we was doing in the studio, and I listened to it. And then when I listened to it, something hit me. And I said, wow, okay. So I went back into the studio, told the engineer, I said, "Yo, man, pull the bottom off of the scratch part." Once they pulled the bottom off of it, the rhythm kind of like made a new rhythm with the rhythm that was already there. And when I heard that, I said, "Yo, that was the most magnificent thing I've ever heard anybody do on records yet." And I'm not saying that from an ego standpoint. I'm just saying from a pure creative delight standpoint, from a fan's perspective.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I listen to a lot of records. I listen to a lot of scratch. Probably the most important scratch in the record to me would have to be Jam Master Jay when he did Jam Master Jay, and that was a small part. All right, but it was such an important part to that record that you can't hear that record without
it. Yeah.
That's the key with Norman when he did with Rebel Without a Pause. Things like that. Not even to talk about the truncation of the samples. You know, when you're talking about the main. I tried that 2 different ways. I put that into the S900, which was at the time which was an 8-bit sampler. 8-bit sampler sounded like and it sounded too smooth, too correct, too clean, yeah. So I played it back again on the 4-bit Mirage sampler. It had that bite, and because the Mirage was only 3 seconds, and you know, it's unforgiving. It gives you 3 seconds and it's out, you know. Yeah. So thus, you don't have that hangover. So you get that small pause in it that gives you the jerk.
Right.
All right. And it's those kinds of things that, you know, that make those records so unique, and they can't be created because there's a combination of the truncation, the sample itself, the truncation of the sample, and then the effect that's applied to the sample, and then the part that's being played, the performance of it. Yeah. Because nothing was just played and looped. It was a performance that went from the beginning of the tape to the end of the song.
Right.
So thus the timing is going to waver, and then the timing is also going to intensify and grow as the song grows.
Right.
That record was the pivotal point of the group. I don't think we would even be sitting here talking about Public Enemy if it wasn't for that record.